Hi guys, this is Sam from Gamedev, and today we will be taking a look at what kind of difference 1 year of game development makes. The game is about you playing as a superhero, trying to save the world without destroying too much of it yourself. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, in the beginning it was only supposed to be a physics arena fighting game, pulling from its tabs and Dragon Ball roots. But I eventually scrapped this idea because it felt too limiting and difficult to make fun gameplay out of, without things feeling too forced. Around the same time I started learning modeling, and at the time it felt like Thanos adding an infinity stone to his gauntlet. So many new things I could do now when I not only could write code but also make 3D models. There was one problem, and it was this guy. It's terrifying, right? Turns out making human faces harder than I thought. But on the bright side, if I ever want to make a horror game, I got the art style already figured out. Anyway, I thought about a temporary solution. How about we just slap some big eyeballs on the face, so that I wouldn't have to do much detail on the face. It worked. So well, in fact, that I ended up keeping it and heavily leaning towards it on the new monster designs. The nice part about this art style, I should say incompetence but art style, you know what I mean, is that anything goes, as I have a wild imagination, and I feel like it complements my skillset very well. Now, we are about 4 to 5 months into dev, and we have an art style, and I still want to heavily lean into the physics side of things. So I make this new monster, make it punch the player, and post it on Twitter. And let me tell you, this was the first time any of my work gets any kind of recognition. And it was incredibly motivating to see it happen. And it made me realize that one day I might be able to make a great game that people would love to play. So I keep pushing physics, add more characters that utilize physics. The only problem with this is that my ragdolls weren't very stable. You couldn't go through a playthrough without the ragdoll going into the 6th dimension at some point of the game. And then I wanted to be more precise with how the forces were being applied. So if I use a giant fist attack on the giant's face, the giant should fall head first and not get full body knocked sideways. This is, to this day, arguably the hardest thing I've attempted to do in the game, because I need to find a balance where enough force causes a full body knockback, but not enough force would not make the ragdoll look like a football player trying to fish for a red card for the enemy team. Finding the balance is tough, but then when it finally works, it's gonna feel that much more rewarding. I mean, just look at my reaction when I got it to work. I tried to get this to work like literally over a month now. Oh my god, look at that! Look at that! Headshot! Boom! Headshot! And then it falls over. Anyway, there's still a long way to go in this department, but one day I wish I could reach the tabs level of smoothness and detail when it comes to ragdolls. Last but not least, the biggest change of them all, which is the rehaul of the level design, from massive size to small islands. This is to make the terrain deformation more impactful, so it plays perfectly for the with great power comes great responsibility design. This started as an experiment, but the change alone made the game so much more fun to play, because now there is a challenge that will vary between playthroughs. And not only that, but it also opens the doors for cool level types, like lava levels, where if you hit the lava, you lose most of your health, and floating islands, where if you fall, you just die. Unless you have the grappling hook, of course. If you watched the last devlog, you know that the grappling hook was the first step in the right direction to make a fun game. So it really goes hand in hand, now that the grappling hook would be important feature for survival. Now, the only problem with this is that I'm now taking a feature that was designed to be a cool effect into a major part of the game. And running the terrain deformation is not exactly cheap when it comes to processing power, but thankfully all hope is not lost, as there are a couple things I can do to prevent frame rate drops in the game. First, I gave the background thread more time before forcing the work to complete on the main thread. This was actually great for the frame rate, but now it was clearly visible that it was delayed and it made it feel really bad. Next step was to give deformations priority. If it was caused by the player, it would always happen as soon as possible, no matter if the frame rate drops, cause it just looks too satisfying. But if it's a monster or an explosion that's happening far away from the camera, I would give the background thread a couple extra frames to process it before forcing it to complete. And that takes us to the present day, where I'm still fighting ragdolls and adding a cheeky new skill every now and then to have some fun. And since all the major puzzle pieces to the game have been figured out, otherwise still need a major polish, I created the Steam page. So if you're still here, shout out to you, you are the best, and most likely actually care about what's going on. So consider wishlisting the game on Steam, it's gonna help out a ton. And there we have it, a urine review for Epic Hero game. Next year I'll try to do more frequent devlogs as the game is more defined to what it actually is. A long way from the final vision of Tabs meets Dragon Ball, but you know what they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, so till next time, peace out.